Childhood friend mysteriously appears, befriends me in my small town, becomes my closest confidant, then disappears without a trace. So I was probably around 10-11 years old the first time I remember the boy turning up. It was the middle of summer and my friends and I were swimming in a lake in one of my parents' fields. I grew up in a small farmer's town, with a population of no more than 200, and so everyone knew everyone. There were 2 schools in the town, one for boys and one for girls. I'm not sure why they split them by gender, and I'm pretty sure both have merged now, but that's what it was like when I lived there. I'm going to tell it how I remember it happening, but my friend who was there at the time remembers it slightly differently than I do. So, as I was saying, my friends, I think it was about 4 of us in total, and I were swimming in the lake at the bottom of one of my parents' fields. It was about a 15-minute walk from my main house. We had been playing there for a while, when we heard someone calling to us. We looked over and saw the boy standing at the edge of the lake, completely naked. Once we noticed him, he shouted if he could play with us. He looked to be around the same age as us, maybe a little older but not by much. He was super pale, like white pale. I remember being amazed and kind of jealous of his super bright green eyes. He also had shoulder-length white blonde hair, like Draco Malfoy blonde. I looked to my friends and we said yeah, and he came in the lake with us. None of us recognized him. Which, as I said, was weird because we had all lived in this tiny town for our whole lives and everyone basically knew everyone living there. He introduced himself as Richard, but he said he prefers if we called him Richie, so we did. I remember asking Richie where he was from, but he would go all awkward and would never give a straight answer. Anyway, after a while more of playing in the lake, Richie seemed fun and I invited him to come back to my house or supper. He straight away said he would love to come and my friend was like, don't you need to ask your mom? To which Richie said something like, oh, she won't mind. Remember how I said Richie was completely naked? Well, that wasn't so strange. In fact, I'm pretty sure we all were. My friends and I were all boys and we would skinny dip in the lake normally, so it didn't stick out to me when he first arrived like that. But what did stick out to me was when we got out of the lake, dried and dressed ourselves, Richie had no clothes with him to get dressed into. Which I remember thinking was super weird, but he said something like, oh, I must have forgot to bring them. Which again, I thought was very weird, like how do you forget your clothes? I wasn't sure how my parents would react to me bringing home a naked boy, so I gave him my briefs and my overshirt to put on. But yeah, that stuck out as very odd. My friends went back home and Richie and I went to my house. My dad was like, where's his clothes? I just made something up. I'm pretty sure I said something like his clothes got wet so we left them in the sun to dry. I got him some trousers to put on. We ate supper, which I remember him having 3 or 4 plates of. As I said, Richie is a super skinny boy. I was pretty small and skinny at the time. But he was definitely more skinny than I was, so I was confused how he ate so much. Lol. Richie was super polite and sweet to everyone while he was at my house. After supper I took him upstairs to my room and we played on my Nintendo 64 together. He had never seen one before and was super amazed by it. At the time I thought he had never seen one before and was super amazed by it. At the time I thought he had never seen one because they were so old. This was 2010. But my family was poor and that's all I had. It started to get dark and I asked him if he wanted to sleep over. He was really excited by that and said yeah. I checked with my parents but I knew they wouldn't mind because hey, we're both super drunk. So we continued playing on N64 until it was super late. After a while, I said it was time that we went to bed as I was tired, but I don't remember him seeming tired at all. Richie asked if he could shower before as we had been playing in my fields and he was really muddy. As he was showering I made my bed for us, and put a movie on the TV for us to watch as we went to sleep and I got into bed. Richie came in like 5 minutes later and was completely naked again. I was like, did you walk from the bathroom like that? He was like yeah and didn't seem to care at all, so even though I thought it was strange I didn't say anything. He got into my bed, I asked him if he wanted any pajamas and he said no, it was too hot, which to be fair I do remember it being really hot that day. I had a Scooby-Doo movie on and he was really excited by it, and didn't know anything about them, which I guess isn't too weird. But looking back, he didn't seem to know any pop culture stuff at all. I mean, we were pretty behind the times in my small town but we still knew most pop culture. I had slept in quite a lot the next day, but when I woke up Richie wasn't in my room. I went and asked my mom if she'd seen him and she said he left early that morning after his parents rang our house. How they knew he was with us or where to ring I'm still not sure. Richie had taken some shorts from my room because my mom said he couldn't leave without clothes on. I was a little disappointed he left without me, or at least without saying goodbye or without leaving any way of contacting him again. He turned up again a couple days later when my friends and I were swimming in the lake again. This time he brought clothes, but I'm pretty sure he only brought some briefs and a shirt with no pants. Which again, I thought was weird. Over the next year, him and I became super close. We were like brothers. Over the year, I asked if I could see his home or meet his family. But any time I asked Ed anything personal about him, he would go awkward and not want to talk about it. Or he would just change the subject. But I could see it made him feel uncomfortable, so I didn't push him to tell me. He did tell me he was homeschooled, which I thought was cool. Because on my mind that meant no school. As I said, we became really close over the year. I felt like he was more than a friend to me. It's difficult to explain, It's almost like we clicked from the first time we met. We became close really quick, and I felt like I could tell him anything and he would always help and support me. He helped me through so many hard times, and he definitely encouraged me to be a better person. It was almost as if he could sense when I was going through anything. For example, when my grandma passed away, I went out into my fields to cry as I didn't want to do it in front of my family. But after sitting down in some random place, Richie turned up and sat next to me. He said some things that I remember helping me a lot. When I asked him how he found me, he said that we was just on a walk. Not too long after this, he just vanished. It had been a little over a year since the first time he appeared at the lake. It was around September the year after, so it had been around a year and 2/3 months. He never turned up again, never said goodbye, never left a trace. I was massively upset. I really missed him. I would walk around the fields looking for him, and I would hang out by the lake where we first met, hoping that he would turn up, but he never did again. I still don't know what happened to him. I've tried searching social media for him but with no luck, and since he would never tell me that much about his life, I don't have that much to go on. I asked my parents what they remember of him. They said they remember him being odd, and that they were unsure about him at first, especially how he had a tendency to strip naked whenever he felt like it. But they also said that he and I were inseparable, and wherever I was he was sure to be found there too. They said they remember me being heartbroken when he stopped appearing, and they weren't sure whether they should call the police about him being gone, but they never did. I kind of wish they did. I suppose this is a long shot, but if you're reading this, Richie, reach out to me. I'd love to speak to you again and get some answers to all the weird things about you. Update 1. This is an update to my original post from a couple days ago, which can be found here, though my original post was only around 4 days ago. That is eternity in Reddit time. So I am not sure if anyone will even care about this update. First and foremost, I want to thank each and every one of you who have helped with through this process and have helped me find closure on my childhood best friend and my first and only true love. This journey has been difficult. Many years I have searched for answers on where Richie is now. Sadly, it is not good news. Deep down, I think I feared and perhaps avoided searching for Richie in case this was the outcome. With the help of everyone here and so many lovely commenters, I tracked down a distant relative to Richie, who put me in contact with Richie's older sister. A sister that I did not know existed. For the sake of clarity, I will name the sister Sarah. Sarah helped put into context Richie, his odd behavior, his unwillingness to show me his home, and his disappearance. Sarah and Richie both suffered abuse and neglect at the hands of their father. Their father, who suffered with severe mental health issues and drug-related problems for most of his adult life. Their father was terrified of the outside world, and thus kept them secluded away in secret. According to Sarah, their father was convinced that the world was months away from ending at any given time. He was convinced that the devil was planning to take over his mind and body. And was convinced that Jesus had spoken to him, and told him the only way to keep him and his family safe was to keep them secluded from the outside world. Sarah shared that their father would not often be physically abusive, which I suppose is of some relief. Richie and his family would move often throughout his childhood, never staying in one place for too long, as his father feared that the devil would soon find them. Sarah said they were most likely moved in the middle of the night with no forewarning, though she can't remember the specific time they were moved from my town. This helps to explain how Richie seemed to appear one day, and disappear 15 months later. Richie passed away at age 15, around 2.5 years after vanishing from my town. Sarah struggled to go into the details of Richie's death, and I didn't want to push her into sharing something that was painful for her, though it seemed that Richie took his own life. Sarah told me that Richie would often speak of me, and the time we spent together, and that all Richie ever wanted to do was to come back and find me. Sadly, he never managed that. She said she thought that I was just imaginary. She isn't sure how Richie would sneak out of the house to meet with me, but said that their father would keep them locked in their rooms for days and sometimes weeks at a time. Sarah told me she has a collection of Richie's diaries, which I do remember him writing occasionally. She has offered to send them to me, which is lovely of her. She told me that a lot of the writing is about me, about our time together, about how he wanted to find me again so we could run away together. Again, she never thought I was a real person. Hearing that was so incredibly bittersweet. I look forward to reading those diaries, even though it will be incredibly difficult at the same time. She said she is glad that Richie managed to have an impact on someone on this world. I wish that I was able to express the impact that Richie had on my life. I wish I could tell Richie the impact he had on my life. I want everyone to know Richie. I want everyone to know what an amazing, kind and beautiful person Richie was. This post is difficult for me to write. Deep down, I think that I resisted searching for Richie more in case this was the outcome. Sarah told me a lot more information, but I've decided to leave out most to respect her privacy. Sarah is away and safe from her father, which I am so glad about. Again, I just want to express how thankful I am for all of you who have helped. For all of you who have offered emotional support. Thank you so much. Richie, I love you. I'm sorry I couldn't help you. I'm sorry I didn't pick up on the signals that you were in danger. I hope you can forgive me. Richie, you were the only true friend I've ever had. It's so hard for me to write this. I feel so sick that I didn't do more. Richie, I want you to know you saved me so many times throughout my life. So many low moments in my life have been helped because of the memories of you. I am so sorry I wasn't there for you the same way you were there for me. I love you so much, Richie. Update 2. Hello everyone. Almost 1 year ago I made a Reddit post searching for answers about a childhood friend of mine that went missing. It received a moderate amount of attention, and with the people of Reddit's help I was able to track down the relatives of my missing friend. I posted this under a different, now deleted account. However, I have sent the mods of this subreddit proof of me being the oop. I deleted the Reddit account because honestly I didn't want to think about what happened to Richie anymore, as it was too painful for a long time after I discovered the truth. Recently that post has resurfaced on this subreddit, and so I thought I'd give you all an update on where I am today and how I'm doing, as well as how Sarah is doing. It still pains me to think about Richie, and think about how I could have and should have helped him and how I failed to save him. It does really hurt to look back on it. I really don't have many friends and I suffer from pretty bad anxiety, and I just wish I had Richie here with me. Sarah and I still occasionally talk, but not really as often as I wish we could. I have met her IRL once, which was nice. I hope that me posting this update is alright on this subreddit. It just seemed to me that so many were touched by Richie's story that I thought I would put this out there, and I'm happy to answer questions of anyone who has them. Update 3. This post got a lot of replies and I am trying to make my way through and answer as much as I can. I didn't think this post would get so much attention, especially since this was posted relatively recently. To answer a couple of the common questions, yes, I am currently in therapy. I started it not too long ago along with some medication, as I have suffered for a while with severe anxiety. I am currently requesting permission from Sarah before I post any of Richie's journal entries, as I feel she should have final say on if she wants those out on the internet. No, I am not writing a book about Richie. No, this is not a promotion for a book. If anyone was to write a book about Richie and his life, I would think it should be Sarah. However, she does not have any interest in sharing her story. She would much rather leave the past in the past, and honestly I can't blame her. It really breaks my heart that there are so many people in here sharing that they knew a Richie, or they were a Richie. I feel like so many children, even now, go under the radar, the lives they live and the abuse they receive with no one there to help. It hurts to think that there could have been so many with us today that have sadly passed on and are no longer with us. I think everyone has a right to be remembered, and I am so glad that Richie has had an impact on so many people here. Also, I'm sorry if I don't respond to a comment. There are a lot on here that I thought would be too difficult to respond to. I can say a million times that I shouldn't feel guilty, and I know that also. But it is very hard not to, and it's very hard to hear that I did all I could do when Richie isn't around anymore. That might sound mopey or ungrateful. I am grateful of all the love I have been sent. I am just not entirely sure if I deserve it. Edit. I have made some edits on the formatting of the texts. I am the original op. Sorry about the confusion for everyone who read through before the edit. Oop. Hello everyone. I am the oop. I don't use Reddit often anymore. Thank you for reposting this and sending me a link. I am at work at the moment. When I get back I might be able to answer some comments/questions. Sarah and I really love reading everyone's comments, so please keep them coming about how Richie's story has impacted you. She loves that Richie's life has been given meaning. Paraphrasing, I told her Richie's life gave me meaning, and so I am forever grateful. As always, rest in peace. You so deserve the peace. I wish I believed we would be together again, but I just can't believe in a God or heaven anymore after everything I've experienced. Update 4. Hello everyone. This is strange for me to be back, on my third account no less, but I just wanted to give a short update about my life and the life of me and Sarah now. The day I created this account was Richie's birthday. It has been almost 10 years since he committed suicide. And though I think of him less now than I did before, I still think of him. It seems insane to me that it has been almost 3 years since I posted the original post. Sarah and I speak, but still not often. We met up on his birthday last year, but we didn't this year. The year before that I didn't even know it was his birthday. It would have been around the time I posted the first Baru post. Sarah is doing really well, at least from what she tells me, but again we aren't close. Sarah and I love the fact that this subreddit keeps the memory of Richie alive. She's really grateful that so many people know her brother's story. I encouraged her to make a post, but she said having that many eyes on her would be far too scary. I can understand that. I am very grateful to the mods of this subreddit, who in the few encounters I have had with them, they seem like genuine and kind people. I have had so many people reach out to me over the years and say thank you as they were a Richie. I think that's really sweet. I hope many others share their stories of Richies. Richies deserve to be remembered. I don't believe in an afterlife, not anymore. Maybe I did at one point. Richie was a real one, in every way. So, I am glad that his memory can at least live on. Sarah did not give me permission to post Richie's journals. Which I am glad about, because that would have been an invasion of his privacy too far. He has some very personal inner thoughts in them, and sometimes even I feel weird reading. You can very much tell they were written by someone who was in a lot of pain. And it is so sad for me to see them get more and more dark as he grows up. It makes me still upset that I couldn't help him in the way that he helped me. One page I will always cherish is a drawing he made of us both, labeled Love.